All right, so our Tiger Jet package. This is something that has been a part of our offensive playbook since I started. Our offense has evolved a little bit over the last few years. We were, when I first started, almost a true kind of 10 personnel spread team, and over the last 2 years, we've evolved a little bit of our offense because we've had some really good running backs, and we've gotten more into 2-back looks. Still a lot of spread principles, but some pro-eye formations as well. So we kind of mesh that together with our jet package. Have a true jet back look, but then we're going to combine that a lot with gap scheme runs. And so we'll go through that here today. So we kind of start out with our why. And why do we include that into our offense? And the big thing for us offensively is we want to force the defense to defend the entire field. And so we're going to stretch the defense both vertically and horizontally across the field and make them really work sideline to sideline. We want to use speed and athleticism to get to the edge and take advantage of what the defense gives us. So within that jet package, we have a lot of variations of how we're going to block that scheme, complementary plays off of that. So based upon how a defense is going to line up against us on a given week, we can take advantage of what they're going to do. We have enough in that package. We might not run everything on a given Friday night, but we have enough that we can get to depending on what they're going to do and how they're going to line up against us. How we're going to use it, again, we're a multiple pro-eye offense, so we'll run it both from shotgun and under center. So I got some clips of both so you can see how that looks. We run out a lot of different personnel groupings. Like I said, 10 personnel, 11 personnel have a single back look, as well as some 20 and 21 personnel when we get into our 2-back stuff, which is what we've been more often these last 2 years most recently. And then the last thing, which is a really big point, I think, is how do you practice that? And so we'll have a jet time during our practice where we have a mesh with all of our running backs, receivers, quarterbacks in the center as well. We'll put everybody in the spot, we'll give everybody a job so everyone's involved. So whether that's the receivers running the jet, our running backs, whatever their job is, if they're getting out the edge in the jet scheme, or when we fake our jet look and hand it to the back. Like I said, we run a lot of 20 personnel. So our H-back, where he's lined up what his job is on any given play. And then our extra guys are rotating through on the defensive side as well. So we have guys with bags out on the edge that our backs are getting to block in that scheme, or if we got, if our H-back is working on picking up, when we run our counter off of it or our ISO off of it, what's that H-back's job? Is he leading up on backers and kicking out an end? So we got guys involved all over the place. We're rotating through spots. And so making sure that is planned out, scheduled, having a job for everybody, keeping everyone involved. We get a lot of reps that way. It's about a 5-6 minute period during practice, but we get a ton of reps with everyone working together. The other big part about that is the timing with a quarterback. And so we'll get into this, but we're going to snap the ball when that jet back is at the outside leg of the tackle. So that's really important with our center and our quarterback and their timing, making sure that snap is consistent to our quarterback and getting that timed up so we're snapping the ball on time and everything is smooth with our exchanges there. If you got any questions while I'm going, just shoot your hand up or yell out at me and I'm happy to answer. Last piece then is kind of what plays are we going to include then. So we'll go over the jet stuff, but then we got complementary runs with our jet motion across the field, play action pass. We got some screens that are incorporated into that. We'll get to at the end. And then a couple special plays that we like to mix in there. So we try to protect ourselves. If a team's going to get up the field and try to blow up our jet, and they're really overcommitting and spinning and sliding with that jet motion, we got a lot of complementary stuff we can get off of that. So we really make sure we do a good job in packaging things together that's going to protect ourselves, and we're going to be able to attack the defense regardless of how we're going to play on a given day. So our success over the past 5 years, most recently we ran 259 plays with the jet motion for 1,800 yards, about 7 yards a play. So it's definitely been very productive for us. Most common plays are jet and the counter that we run off of that. Jet's averaging 7.5 yards a carry in that time. The jet counter is a respectable 5 yards a carry there. Jet counter has probably been the most common play that we've ran. Reason for that being is a couple of years ago, probably back 3 years ago, jet counter was probably our best play in our offense. Teams are really overcommitting to jet hard, and it set up great angles for us to get that back on the counter level, coming back the other way. We haven't run it that much these last 2 years. because the teams all of a sudden are now scheming and trying to stop our counter, and so that has opened up jet for us the last 2 years, and that's been a little bit more explosive. So from year to year, it's going to change a little bit, depending on what's working well for us, how teams choose to defend us, and so that's what's going to dictate the plays that are been the most successful for us. Our most explosive play is jet ISO, and this has been huge for us the last 2 years. Once teams were stopping our counter, we went under center more and started handing off to our I back after the jet fake, and we're averaging over 15 yards a carry on that jet ISO play. So we had a couple of 50, 60-yard touchdown runs this year off that jet ISO play. And we'll get to those and show you what that looks like. We've called it out of 10 different formations. That sounds like a lot. They aren't completely different, but we say that it's a different formation if we offset our fullback like in a plus to the strong side versus taking him weak and offset him to the weak side. That's 2 different formations for us. So they're going to look similar whether he's in a wing, he's an offset, right or left, strong or weak in the formation, whether we're in like a true spread or we're in a 21 personnel. So there's small variations, but we definitely get different looks, making so we can disguise some things versus the defense, and it's going to set us up better for angles depending on how we line up in those formations and get to the plays that we want to get to. The average scoring play is about 25 yards out, so it's very explosive. So the plays that we go for 6 points, they're big plays. And a lot of that's come off of our jet ISO play and some of our jet play as well. All right, so we'll start out with kind of the play that everything is based off of, and that's our jet. I got 2 looks here, and most of these slides they'll be out of give you an under center look if we run it from under center, as well as a shotgun look, and then versus kind of an even front and odd front. The big switch that we made this year in our blocking scheme was cheating our X receiver down and cracking that force defender to the play side. In the past, we were just sending our X receiver out to number 1 here on the corner, and we were leaving this H up on the backer. That backer was flying upfield and blowing up our jet quite a bit. We weren't able to get there fast enough. So now we're keeping our alignment down. We're getting a good crack here. A lot of teams aren't real great with cracky plays from their corners. This linebacker hasn't seen it coming. They're not communicating that. So we were able to pop a couple jet runs this year off that crack look and sending our H out to the corner. We'll send it. Our super back then is going to have a zone or an ISO fake to the front side, always out of our under center look to hold these inside backers. And so now really we just got to handle these 2 out on the edge. We ask our tackle to handle the D end by himself. We've had some pretty athletic tackles. We drill that a lot in any time. So we've been pretty good at being able to reach him in by himself. Quarterback, big thing here is we are snapping the ball outside leg of the tackle again. That jet back's coming through, and then we're telling him to bubble back about a yard on the snap of the football, just so we get some clearance when our quarterback comes out from under center, so that we're not clipping each other when he comes through. So we're telling him to bubble back 1 yard. All right, he's going to come through, get the ball, and then our quarterback is attacking for depth to that super back, and he's full speed downhill. That also has helped our wide receivers when they get this jet. We got a lot of track athletes on our team, and so we just tell them it's like running a 200. And so they get that ball and they start to turn that corner, and then they get a little bit of depth that allows them to get up the field, and then we're just reading this block of this H-back. If that corner is up the field forcing that thing inside, he's just going to kick him out, we'll turn it up. If that quarterback comes down inside and we can pin him, then we're getting out to the numbers. So he's anticipating trying to get wide out to those numbers, but if that corner's coming hard up the field, then we'll just cut it up inside. So we got a couple clips of that. Our out of shotgun, then it's very similar scheme. We get 1 guy added to the mix now because we don't have this super back selling an ISO fake. So we can now send our H back here to the line inside backer if he chooses to get out of the jet. We don't have as good of a run fake off of the jet when we give it out of the gun. So we add this guy to the equation. We're able to seal the edge here on our backer. Our super back is getting out to the corner, and our X is still cracking there on that force defender that outside backer. Our offensive line, we're just full zoning them. We're not really worried about the nose or the end here. If they're making the play, then we shouldn't be running. So we're not worried about the backside. We're climbing for backers and safeties. The big block though is our tackle here, that front side defense. As long as we can get him sealed, we should have a pretty good play.
Coach,
yep.
have you had any issues with guess, kind of the traffic with your super back and your jet guy, especially when that guy isn't traffic?
Getting out here?
Yeah.
We've had good enough athletes here, it's not been a problem. If you're snapping this at that outside leg of the tackle, it gives him a good 3+, 4-yard head start. And we've had really good athletes here, and so he's been able to get out.
He's just going to get out and sprint.
Yeah, he's just sprinting to that corner right now. And we're saying that he's a bigger, stronger than this guy, and so he's going to try to run him over again. If he tries to come upfield, we'll just kick him out and cut him inside him. Yep.
Are you asking your ace to chip on the end before going up?
We will. Well, if he's really good. Yep, that's an adjustment we'll make. We saw a team last year had just a stud at a defensive end that could stop that play by himself. So we were chipping here and helping him climb. Yeah, that's definitely an adjustment we can make it. All right, couple clips. So these first couple are from a couple years back when we were running it more out of a 10 personnel spread look. So we were cracking with our number 2 here on that force defender instead. We were sticking number 1 on the corner, and then our super back's just getting up for outside backer, safety, most dangerous defender, and then we reach this defensive end by himself. But you see we get a great crack here from our number 2 that seals it. And then the other big thing is outstanding blocking on the edge by your X receivers. We eliminated having to be really good at that necessarily, because now if we're running out of a single, just 11 or a 21 personnel, we're just cracking with that X receiver. But you'll see all these jet plays that go, we have great blocking on the edge by our wide receivers. It's something we do spend a lot of time in, take a lot of pride in our wide receivers. And so this play goes only because we get great blocking out there on the edge.
Coach, have the new crack rules, have they affected how you teach this at all?
Yeah, so most recently, that one's probably a little bit close. Again, this was like 4 years ago, 5 years ago, but we just make sure that we gotta leave hands, we can't leave the shoulder down. But we're not telling that guy, this doesn't need to be a decleater block, you just gotta get in his way. And that's the thing, we don't wanna call this almost a crack block anymore. These guys get in their head that I gotta decleat this guy, and then they put themselves in danger in a bad position with their head. And put that other guy in danger of getting hurt. So as long as we're leading with hands, we're aiming for that shoulder, we're just making sure that we're not on his back. We tell him if he sees his back, then you're just standing there, just set and pick on him, like you would in basketball. But all we gotta do is just make sure we get in that guy's way. What hurts us ever is if he's getting off the field fast, and so that's where we've cheated our alignment down with that X receiver when we're a single guy, or if we're in a 10 personnel like this, we really cheat that down. Make sure we got a good angle we can get him, he's not getting off the field. And if teams are doing that, then we got enough stuff off of that complementary plays we'll get to if they're shutting that down. Yeah, just an outstanding blocking there. All right, so this is a little bit more what we look like now traditionally. So this is out of gun. We're going here. Again, we're not cracking yet. This is 2 years ago. So we're going to stay number 1 here. We're going to take H out to this outside backer. We're going to reach the end. Super backs out as well. And you can see this guy gets upfield, so we end up kicking him out. Jet back just reads that blocking and cuts up the field. So here's an under center look now. This guy's going to ISO fake front side. It's going to hold this backer, so he's not getting flow. So really the only guys we got to worry about are end, outside backer, and corner. So we reach the end. He's got number 2. He's got number 1, and we're off there on the edge. We don't get a great fake here by our super back. We want that guy. We want this guy full speed through the hole. That's too slow. Please. You can see it really holds number 34 here, that ISO fake. He's never going to get to the edge on our jet guy. So here's just this year now. So you can see our reduced split with our X. He's going to crack here, and we're going to lead out to corner. You get a little caught up here. He gets it off. He ends up getting off clean. He gets a rub here and gets out to corner. We're going to crack out to corner. ISO fake's going to hold this inside back and leads into the edge. End zone shot. This is a good reach here. And get out. All right. right, so I had to include these last two plays. This was from 3 years ago. This is probably our best team that we've had since I've been at Stewartville. So this is a really good, well-coached team. And they did a great job of shutting down our counter. They were keying on this back. They were really keen on our backs. And if this guy was going counter, they weren't buying the jet fake, and they were chasing this thing down the play. So this week we schemed and said, okay, instead of sending this corner out, we're just going to have him run a counter fake and still give the jet, or H is still going to lead out, and that counter fake is going to hold these two inside backers. We reach this tackle, we get up here. This guy really flies upfield to stop the jet, so we end up kicking him with our H, and our receiver does a nice job of reading that and getting up the field. And get a good block down the field as well. And so then we played them again in the playoffs, knowing that we had shown just that counter fake out of the back, so we wanted to make sure we really sold it. We really sold it well, and we actually ended up doing a full counter scheme. And we pulled both guard and tackle, along with our counter back selling counter. So everyone was running counter. And just out here, number 1 and 2, we played 7 in the box, manned up across. So we just had to get these two guys blocked. Everyone commits to counter. We still hand the jet. And this was early in the game. I think it was our first touchdown in the game. It went for a big gain and kind of broke the game open for us. So this is a good shot. You see all. We'll get all 7 in the box, plus actually the safety. It's going to be hard to look. All right, anything on jet before we move forward? Okay, so our next, this was up to probably the last year or two. Jet counter was our first kind of go-to complementary play off of jet. Counter was just a good play for us in general, so it made sense to marry jet along with it. And so we'll have 2 ways we'll run it. We'll go with our H-back set up in the wing, which we'll run jet out of a lot. That's a big thing, is make sure when you're packaging this stuff together, whatever formations you're running jet out of, you got to run your complementary plays out of that same package. It's got to look the same, otherwise, well-coached teams are going to get the film, they're going to key on that. If they're teaching their backers, they're going to be calling that out and communicating that. So you got to run it out of the same looks to make it tough on them. So we'll run it 2 different ways. We'll have a wing back here. We normally would lead out on jet, but now we're going to pull him in our counter scheme. So our guard's going to pull kick, just traditional counter. H is going to pull and lead through on the backside backer. So just traditional counter, walking down with everybody. We'll still solve hard through. Big thing here is the fake. We've got to get this guy pull into that fake. Hopefully we can get a safety in the corner of these 3 defenders committing to that jet, because that we can handle everybody else in the box with our counter scheme. And then just out of we'll run a traditional guard tackle pull on the counter as well. Teams, again, once 2 or 3 years there where this was our best play, this defensive end was getting upfield trying to stop jet. Teams stopped having that guy do that because he wasn't making the play anyway. And if they saw a tackle pull, that defensive end was just getting in the hip pocket of that tackle and chasing him down and making the tackle on our tackle behind that counter. So we had to start sticking this H back in the backfield and pick up the backside end on counter to make sure he didn't chase that down. So we'll run jet out of that same package where H is in more of a plus offset fullback position to lead out on the jet, and then he'll just pick up the backside end and hand the counter. We do have an RPO built into this that we never got to this year. We'll do to this next year and build this in now, where we will read this inside backer. We're not worried about that jet fake, and the big thing when that jet back comes across too, we're not telling our quarterback is not sticking that ball out. All right, we've had a couple times where he has that jet back clips it and the ball's on the ground. So that quarterback's just seeing the ball in his stomach. He's going to head and shoulder fake as that guy comes across to sell that thing, but we're not sticking the ball out. The jet back's going to sell the jet coming across, and then we're getting the ball in the front side hip of that running back as it comes through, and then we're just on that RPO. So our eyes are going to be here on that inside backer. That jet's going to come through. We're going to stick the ball in the super back's hip and read that guy. If he's probably taught the key guard, if he sees that guard pull, he's going to commit, and try to shoot through one of these A gaps. We're counting on this backer coming upfield, forcing on the jet. It's going to open up a big window for that slant right behind it. We crack with this receiver anyway all the time on jet, so it's already kind of built in to that scheme, looking the same. So he's just going to run that same kind of crack motion and sit in that window. And hopefully we can hit that. We'll see. No, I don't have any film, we've never run it, but that's kind of it. All right, so a couple cut-ups here. Again, this is back to one of our 10 personnel. This is when we did not have to worry about having an H-back to pick up this backside end. So you'll see, or sorry, up here, we're going to run counter back to the boundary. This guy just gets up the field trying to stop jet. We'll pull guard and tackle on counter. Everyone will see the flow that we get out of jet. It just, with the down blocks and everything up front, everyone's flowing to that jet and it just sets up great angles for our counter coming back for our offensive line. Snow game, this is state semifinals 4 years ago, 2014 up, and we had snowstorm against Becker. These guys were the eventual state champs, but at first as an even front, so I wanted to give you another look as an odd front here. We're seeing a lot of odd fronts. I don't know what you guys see, but we probably, 3/4 of the defenses we play now, we got to head up nose. And I think it's a little bit harder to run some gap scheme runs and stuff against that, depending on what you're doing. But so just against an odd front here when we run counter, we're just going to read that outside guy that's hanging out off the edge up top there. But we still get a bunch of pull with the jet motion. Those guys are slanting with a bunch against us, so they're slanting to the field a lot. And so that we knew that, and so that set up again really good angles for our counter. So we'll jet across, we get backers, everyone's slanting with that, and then bring the counter back under. All right, this was this year. I showed you that look where we had that plus back in the backfield. So now we're going to send our H-back here to this backside defensive end to make sure he doesn't chase the counter down from behind. We'll jet through. We're going to pull guard, tackle, pick up backside end, and then counter back to the boundary side. That's the other thing you got to figure out too. Are you running jet a lot to the field? If you're running jet a lot to the field, then run your jet counter a lot back to the boundary. Because teams are going to key on, if you're running jet a lot to the field, you can help yourself out there and set that up and counter back to the boundary.
Coach, are you using separate tags when you're pulling with a guard H or a guard?
Yeah, we just have a stay call. Yeah, we just take stay to the end of our counter, so we're on counter stay. If we take stay to the end of it, that tells our tackle to stay home. Our H-back pulls and leads and takes his job, otherwise we just call regular counter. It's guard and tackle. So we'll pick up. Same thing there. Guard and tackle. I think I got an H. Here's our stay call. So now we're jetting through here, and then we call it stay. So our backside tackle is going to stay home on this D end. We're going to pull guard and kick, and then our wing is going to rapidly through. Now we don't do a great job here. I wanted to show you, so we got to put what it looks like. It ends up going, but up front we don't do a great job of blocking. Our tight end doesn't win at the point of that. So we got a 7 technique here, and that's, again, we're not going to get into how you guys run gaps and stuff. Normally, if we get a 7 technique, if we can't move him, we're going to arc release him out here to this outside safety backer, and we'll kick him to this defense that we thought we could handle him and try to get outside of it to block him down. We did it here, and this guy gets up the field and kind of ups things up, and our back just kind of ends up making a good play off of it. But it's good to have 2 options there in case you need an extra one to get to. So this last one was then we ran some wildcat kind of personnel. We didn't keep our quarterback on the field, but this is our kind of our feature tailback at quarterback now. And so we're in an unbalanced look here. And so we ran this jet motion through, and now we had our quarterback keep the ball and run the counter. So we sent our super back out to sell jet, and I think we had a stay call here. So our tackle's staying home, our guard's going to pull and kick, this H-back's going to pull and lead. Our running back got a little excited and actually beats our H-back to the hole, which isn't ideal because now we lose a block at the point of attack. But it's a nice package to have if you have a running quarterback, or if you have some kind of wildcat personnel that you like to run. This jet package is great to do.
Coach, do you guys huddle?
Yes, not a lot, but we do. We have different tempos, so we'll go huddle tempo, we'll go a NASCAR, 2-minute fast tempo, or then we'll just kind of go a normal no huddle, kind of not super fast. We'll also do the sugar huddle is the kind of the tag word now. Auburn has been doing it for a long time. We started 2 or 3 years ago, and we'll huddle close at the ball, and we'll run a lot of our jet package out of that sugar huddle. And that's I got it from Gus Mills on it at Auburn. They do it a bunch, but they'll get that tight huddle, and then right at the ball, they'll snap fast, get the jet motion, and snap at the go. So that is one thing that we do.
So when you guys are in unbalanced, then I imagine it's some sort of sugar huddle.
Yeah, we'll go. If we have a unique package, if we'll go a wildcat out of that or something, or if it's unbalanced, we'll come out of that just to disguise that a little bit so people doesn't see it and can't adjust. So yeah, so we'll jet through and keep it on that back side. All right, so this has been our most explosive play now this last year or two. Teams have kind of not shut down counter, but are committing a lot of time to stopping it. So this has been a big one under center. So counter will play out of gun, our complementary play out of gun. ISO's our complementary play out of under center when we run jet. And so here we're going to have an H-back, whether he be, I only have it drawn up with an offset spot here on both of these, but we'll run it from a wing spot as well. And if we run this, then we're going to fold that wing back inside, whether that be A gap or B gap, to lead up on this front side back. So we'll do it out of both spots, just to disguise our looks and give a little bit different fun out of the way to look at it. But everything is the same as far as the fake from under center. Again, when our quarterback comes out from under center, he's reversing out, we're asking that jet back to go back a little bit. We're not sticking that ball out to that guy. Quarterback seating into the stomach. The big reason why this play has gone so well, I think, and I think it's better than our counter play, is because we can hide the ball so much better from under center. When that quarterback returns and he has his back facing the defense, they don't know who's got it. Our jet back's going to have a great sell. Hands over the ball, he's going to turn his shoulder, hide his stomach so the defense can't see it either. He's going to carry that hard fake out. That quarterback's got the ball seated stomach, and then we're on a sprint back to you, that running back, and that's a big thing that we struggled with a little bit, was that quarterback not getting that ball to that running back depth in the backfield, so he has time to get the ball, get behind his H-back, get a read, and make a nice run. So we really coach our quarterbacks up after that fake to get hard depth to our superback, and then our superback steps on this, we're just going zone step to the play side, one step, and then he's attacking hard down to full speed. We don't want him hesitating at all. We want him hitting that full speed. So it's a pretty good timing. We got the jet fake, and then the thing coming right behind that thing. And again, that's all that timing comes in practice. You gotta rep this a bunch in practice time, so it's really smooth in the game. And the tighter that mesh can be, and the quicker kind of bang that play is, it's harder for defense to play. So it's just a true kind of ISO scheme, gap scheme. We're just going to double on the forefront. We're just going to double back, and the right side backer, or the inside backer, this outside force guy, we're counting on him staying with the jet. Again, it's not up front. If you see that, kind of where that ends playing, we get a lot of 3 techniques. So we'll try to go A gap here and double the nose back. Sometimes this guy's slanting inside. I think at one point we end up running B gaps because that guy is almost like 2 or 3 slanting inside. But, depending on the fronts you see, that scheme. So again, here's kind of out of a spread look. We don't have a tight end here, but we're just going to run this front side. You can see that I'll get to the end zone shot. This guy's in a 2, head up, he's slanting inside. So again, we rep this with our H-back. He's just reading the bubble. So if we get a bubble A gap, this guy's in a 3 tech, he's going to fit inside up to this backer. If this guy's in a 2 or a 1, coming inside the A gap, then he's just going to fit that B gap up to that guy. Again, that comes with reps and time, scheme each week, and what that guy's going to do. But you get great sell and great speed through the play with that jet to pull this defense and then so on. See here, they start in just a 2. And he's slanting inside A gap, so he's just going to adjust B gap up here to 15. All right, so but from a defensive perspective, that ball's really hitting until all of a sudden that superback's have got it. So that's why I really hate this one. But we just get huge holes because defenses are committing so hard to that jet. Here we got the head up nose again, so we're going to double here. This guy ends up, we just wash everything down. The end's plain so wide, is out of the picture here, our tackle's there, and our H just adjusts to this and holds. Let's see what we get with everybody running out here with the jet, and we got this giant window to run through. Here's even front, we're strong here. We got a 3-tech 5, so you can see the bubble's already there. Our H is just going to lead through here on this mic backer. This outside backer is safety from hard to jet. We're going to lead up through here on mic and just follow it. This one ends up popping for a mid one. Here we have it on that wing spot that I talked about. So here, we're in the wing, he's going to fold inside up to this backer. This is again a 5 front, they played super wide ends. They actually put a head up guy in our tight end to wall him off. And this guy, you'll see, flies up to the jet, and this guy actually, in flow, ends up being the guy that we get to on the ISO block. He takes himself out of the equation completely. That's a big thing too, we tell this guy, don't chase guys out of the blocks. If he's taking himself out, great, let him go. All right, he's taking himself out of the place, blocking himself. All right, get your eyes back inside for flow coming then from the back side. That's the guy that ends up making the tackle because he's not necessarily counting for in our scheme, but he becomes that ISO lead block that we get when this guy flies out. So we'll end up, we'll go right here, we'll fold right here to A gap, we'll block out, we'll base, fold here, this guy's gone, he comes, so 24 ends up getting to that guy across the formation. This was just this year. Same thing. Let's get to so again, even from here, we got stand-up ends. These guys are again taking themselves out to see how hard they commit to the jet because it's a great self-peg. We ended up cheating our back up a little bit because we were getting too late to the hole here, so that's an adjustment too. Depending on how fast your kid is, you may have to scoop them up a little bit. We typically play our guys at 6, but that's something you're going to have to mess with a little bit for timing. You don't want him getting there too early, obviously getting away with that jet mesh, but too long, the defense is going to realize he doesn't have the ball all the time. You don't have that bang-bang time that makes this play so good. Let's get to power. All right, so this is kind of our third option. Jet power, so this is one that we've only really ran out of gun as well. Kind of a compliment again, it's kind of our next option to counter. We'll stick, I had mentioned, we'll stick that H back here when we run counter back this way. We'll pull guard and tackle on counter, and then H back will pick up the backside end. So he doesn't chase down from behind. Now we can also run, this is a similar look then to ISO, or what's kind of the same. And you could run ISO on a gun as well if you wanted to. But we'll just run our power scheme now, where our H is going to kick up that end, and then we're going to wrap and pull our guard with the front side back. Same rules for jet, snapping at the tackle, make sure we get good full speed fake all the way through, and then the big thing with our super back now is just make sure we have a tight mesh with our quarterback. He's got to be patient there, so he's not trying to hit that thing too fast before the jet gets there. So he's just going to take his own step into our quarterback, so we make sure we have a tight mesh there. As soon as that jet back goes through, then he's taking that thing just like a front side zone play and all of that. But just your traditional power scheme, nothing fancy. Kick out, down, down, kick out, guard hold. So we got again odd front here, kind of a bare front. 2 stand-up ends. We got head up nose here. Really like running this against this front because we have great angles here. We can double guard and center on this nose. Our tackle comes down in the 3-tech. We can double up to this backside backer. And then we'll kick the stand-up end. He's getting off the field. Our guard's going to pull him in the floor, front side back right here. great thing, you know, if you're a power run team, mixing in this jet I think is really, it's a must, because if you line up and you're running downhill, you know, play after play after play, eventually defenses are going to adjust to that. So this is a great change of pace where all of a sudden these backers are really flat-footed now at the snap of the ball. They're not sure, does the jet guy have it? Is he going to give it to the super back coming through on the power play? And now your linemen are getting great movement leverage. They're getting up to the second level instead of these guys filling fast downhill. You know, we're not meeting these guys in the hole now. We're meeting these guys 2, 3, 4 yards in the defensive back. And so it's just a great, it's a great change of pace to help keep those linebackers off balance a little bit. One defense that is tough to run against, I don't know how many 3-3 stacks you guys see. We see one team a year. This is actually the Crescent right down the road. Runs a 3-3 stack and has for a while. But this, you know, they got guys on the edge here to stop kind of our jet, and they're getting upfield, and they got some width. So jet's not a great play necessarily against these guys on defense, but our inside, our power, and our ISO run and our counter games are really good against it. So we'll show jet a couple times in the game, but a lot of times we won't give jet, we'll give our complementary plays off of this. So we get great movement up front here on this. We see these guys commit hard, we get great down blocks and drives. We'll take this guy up and get a big window to run through here. Our left tackle does an outstanding job. Just very accurate. That's good stuff. Okay. About 10 minutes here. So let's get into, so those are kind of our complementary runs. So ISO, or counter ISO power, or 3 gap scheme runs we're going to run off of our jet look. Those are kind of our bread and butter and what we get to. Alright, so then we got some play action pass that we mix in here as well to make sure it's not just run every time we show that jet motion. And so the most common one, we have kind of 2 that we get to. First most common one is a jet boot, so just traditional boot routes. We'll kind of run it 2 different ways. We'll run a comeback on our backside. It's our primary number 1 that we hit 90% of the time is that comeback. Teams, usually this backer, when they see jet going across, they're either rotating or they're coming back down inside. They're ready for counter coming back to them. And so these guys are really committing to into the box, so it gives a nice, easy throw, big window for our quarterback. We're typically one-on-one back here with this corner. Our receivers do a really good job running this comeback route, getting this guy's close and pressing, getting him to bail, and sitting and coming back. So this is kind of a go-to. If we need a 3rd and 8, first down, you know, we'll get to this play. But it's been a really easy throw and catch for us. The one throw that we don't get to enough that's usually wide open is this drag from number 2 on the backside. Usually these backers are really hard to commit to jet because, again, the majority of the time, anytime we show jet motion, it's some type of run play. And so whether these guys are committing to the jet and worrying about our complementary ISO power counter, these guys are committing hard to the run and opens up a huge window behind them on that play. Protection-wise, we're just going to full zone slide it back to the side we're going to. We teach our quarterbacks. I don't necessarily like them rolling out unless I want them to just, we're going to sell jet and then we're going to 1, 2, 3 set up. If we want to roll out, we'll call our rollout protection, and that guy will try to turn him in and seal him, so we're out in the move to throw that. But it just times up better. We haven't had a bunch of really athletic quarterbacks necessarily on the run, more pocket passer guys that we've had, so we're a little bit better at that. So you got to kind of decide what your protection is going to be there and how you're going to do that. But we've always just full slide our line, and then we'll take that super back since he's normally leading out on jet. He'll just fit up on the backside here in case we need help from our quarterback's blind side. We always have a right-handed quarterback too, so we typically will run jet left, move back to the right. Or 2 ways we'll run it, whether we got 2 receivers backside, we'll go drag, post, backside, or we do run that jet, like I said, a lot of times with that H-back in that backfield. So again, you want your schemes to look similar. Okay, so if you're going to run jet with that H-back in there, then run boot out of that as well, and then we're just going to slip them off into the backside flats across the field. So we're just jet across, set up, and here we go to the other side. This is a good quarterback, so we can go either side if we wanted to. But that's the type of throw that we get just about every time. We get these guys committing hard with the jet. There's easy passing lane, there's nothing to throw over. Again, it's an easy usually pick up if we need it. Here we come back down to the boundary side. Again, we run this also to a boundary side, so it's a shorter throw for our quarterback. We typically jet to the field, so we're going to move back to the boundary. On this long comeback throw, if you're jetting to the boundary and now you're asking that guy to throw a 30-yard rope on a comeback, that's tough to do for a lot of high school quarterbacks. So we try to go either middle of the field or a boundary. And now that's a short, quick throw that our quarterbacks can handle, putting on a line, getting into it, guys quick. And again, you can see the throwing lane here is wide open. There's no one to throw over, nothing to worry about. And we can hit that really quick. I mentioned that Dre comes open quite a bit. See it there, it's huge. So that's one thing too, if they're sitting on that comeback, talk to your quarterback, next series, hey, we come back and we run jet boot, just have a feel for those backers. If they're committing hard to that jet play, then you're going to get this boot coming wide open across the field in that little hole under the safety. But if that's open too, then we're not doing it. We're running down we're running a lot in the red zone. Again, we get a lot of man coverage down the red zone, press man. So we get one-on-one, and we're going to we like our chances with our receivers one-on-one with the corner. So we're just going to press up into that and hit at the top line. Here's one adjustment kind of play that we made. This team blitzed off the edge here, so our quarterback, he comes hard on the edge blitz with his jet motion to try to blow up counter coming back. We ran a lot of counter this year out of our jet play, so he was blitzing hard off the edge anytime he saw jet. So our quarterback does a nice job of kind of ad-libbing here. He comes hard off the edge, and our jet back continues to wheel up the sidelines, and we just end up throwing the wheel to him backside. These guys get across the formation, everyone's chasing, and we get a wheel wide open for touchdown. All right, our last kind of complementary pass play then out of it is our just verticals, 99. Our 9 route is our vertical route, so we just call it 99. So we kind of have a 3-step progression to this. The number one guy we're trying to hit is that X receiver, so we're going to make it look just like when we run jet. We're going to crack. We're normally cracking with our X on this backer, so we're going to sell, crack, and go up the hash here. Our H-back is typically here leading out to a linebacker or safety. He's just going to get across the field. His landmark is opposite hash. We're trying to pull this safety with that inside vertical route. And then our super back is normally leaning up to corner in our scheme, so he's just going to bypass him and continue to wheel up numbers. So we want everything looking the same out of this look when we run jet, and now we're going to fake that. And then we're trying to hit here, number 1. If that safety stays over the top of that corner, runs with it, then we should have that super back wheel. We actually got to all 3 of these throws this year, and I'll show you that here real quick. But we're looking number 1 to number 2 here. We're only going a half a field. We're going to we leave our tight end in protection backside because this is a longer developing play, and since our back is out, we don't have him helping in our protection. So we're going to keep our tight end home backside to make sure our quarterback's backside is protected. We're only really running this to the right side of the field. At least that's all we've done up to now for this point. The other thing on that, we're going to snap this ball early. That was something that I learned too late in the season this year. We were snapping this thing with the same timing at the outside leg of the tackle, and this super back could never get up to the field. It was too late. And so one thing that it helps the super back get some depth enough to field on this play. The other thing it helps, it almost looks like we did a crappy job of snapping the ball. But what happened? Anytime you're running jet and you snap the ball early, what happens? It usually gets blown up because these guys see jet coming and they're committing hard to it. So we're going to play on a well-coached defense. right? And if that ball snapped early, these guys are committing hard then to the jet. It gives us more time to get that super back out, but it also gives them more time to commit to the jet. And so it opens up these a little bit better. So that's one adjustment we're going to make from the get-go next year. We're going to snap this a little bit earlier to make it look like we're selling jet longer. Allows him to get out and those guys to bite up a little bit sooner. So we don't complete it here, but you can see we got them. So we're cracking. We tighten our alignment down. All right, so the same alignment as when we give the jet tight alignment. When you start cracking, go up to the hash. This guy doesn't get far enough across. He's got to get further across to the hash here. And then we're going to wheel that back up. You can see how late we snap that thing, and our back just isn't even. We want that back up here almost even with where those other backs are from a depth perspective. But you can see the bite we get from these safeties down, and the crack goes right up this hash. He's going to come down, and we're going to pass it right there. So the next one that we get to here is our wheel. So again, we're snapping this late, so you can see we throw this when this guy's only about 3 or 4 yards down the field, and I would like him to go a little bit further. This time we sell a crack here, and then we hit the wheel going up the sideways. Then kind of our third progression, then this is late in the year, we end up hitting this H-back coming across the field. So we still crack. We had him, thought we could have probably thrown this crack on this one, but we end up, this guy comes over and we sit in the pocket nice and end up hitting the third option. The backers are committing so hard at that point to jet that it opens that big hole up. We will run it from under center. This is a couple years back. So I think that's important too, to have that in there. If you're running jet from under center, then have a play action pass from under center as well. So we're going to sell jet to our jet back. We're going to sell ISO and then set up and throw. We end up coming to the backside. X receiver, safety, and everyone's committing to the jet. And then we'll do that from gun too. This is an older version of our 99s. We weren't cracking at this point. But we were just trying to get that corner flat-footed a little bit on the jet, and then hit it over the top. So a couple different variations. You got to figure out what works best for you. I'll hit these quickly. I know I'm right up at the end of my time here. So we'll run a screen, reverse pass, and then wildcat package. I mentioned that earlier. But the screen play is the one that I really like out of it. This one doesn't go because we do such a good job of selling the ISO fake, they end up tackling our running back. So we don't get out on it, but we're going to touchdown, haven't even been able to get out. So we're going to sell jet ISO with those backs, and then the quarterback's going to come out of it, the same action you just saw in that 99. We're going to sell jet, we're going to sell ISO fake, and then we're going to sprint for depth, look front side here, and then we're going to come back. This super back, after he sells his ISO fake, he's going to settle and come back to the jets, to the left side of the field side, to the jet side, and we're going to send our guard center guard out on the slow screen back to the left side. This is an unbalanced formation too that we run a lot of our jet out of. So they're overplaying this side already. And once we get the jet coming through, that corner is the only guy left out here. And we end up running into each other a little bit, and they tackle our running backs, so we end up not getting the play. But would have been there if everything goes the way we want it to. Then you can run a reverse. We run a reverse out of it as well. So we'll hand the reverse. We'll hand the jet, and then give the reverse coming back to the other side. So again, just a fun wrinkle off of it. Again, you get hard flow from the defense. I think having that, it's kind of like a counter play coming back to the opposite side. Is a good one to have. And then our last progression out of that, we'll run that same reverse look. We'll go jet reverse, and we'll set our quarterback back here. Flip it to him and have a double reverse pass down the field. So fun wrinkles off of that play. End up not getting the end zone somehow. But I think having those fun wrinkles, the players love those trick plays. Having one in each week built in around the scheme that you're going to run a lot in that game is really important and fun for the guys. So if you have questions, let me know afterward. Here's my contact info. Email me if you want. I can send you a copy of the PowerPoint presentation if you want. Just shoot me an email. I'll send it off to you sometime this week. Follow us on Twitter as my personal account, my football account as well. We get a lot of stuff posted on there as well, so if you're interested, please do that. Any other questions, let me know. Otherwise, you guys, thank you for your time. Appreciate it.